Go to TAPgiles.com to learn dreams, engage my services, and support the channel. In the previous video, we learned how to make a die that knows what number it landed on. Now let's find out how to get it to roll itself. Let's add to this its own little launcher system so that it can launch itself in a random angle and things to roll itself. And then we can trigger that in different ways. So let's make a chip for it. And in here we want to have a mover on that, and will be it will have full strength and low damping, and probably quite low speed as well. And it would only be triggered like briefly. So I'm going to have a timeline, and we'll zoom into it. So if we drag the end with X, make it short, and then L1 and right to kind of zoom into it. So this shows like 1 second over a large area. So you can do very fine timing to it. So let's put the mover on here. But first we're going to add a microchip. And this will generate a random direction effectively. So I'm going to use a signal generator. And I'll move this chip out here for now so that we can test and stuff. So the signal generator outputs signals that go up and down, and they go up to this range, a value within this range, but because it's the same number, it always goes to the same number. But if this was a value between 0.3 and 1, then it will go up to a value between 0.3 and 1. Every time, and then when it goes down it will go between 0 and 3.1, for example. So if we make both of these -1 to +1, then that will give us a random number between -1 and +1, and we can put sweep seconds to 0, and now it's generating a new number within that range every frame. The only thing is, the first frame this happens, it will always give the same value, and then the second frame will give you a properly random value. Cool, so that will give us like left or right, for example. Left would be minus and right would be plus, and then I'll have another one for Z, which is forwards and backwards. And now we want to turn it into an actual direction, because the mover has an input for the direction of movement, so we'll make a 3D direction of movement and then feed that into the mover. So to do that we need a combiner, and then we set that to 3 numbers because we have X, Y and Z, so it's represented as 3 numbers, so we use the 3 numbers combiner. So it's in that order, X, Y and Z. So if we do X and Z, we need like a value for Y as well actually, so let's just get a value slider like that and wire that into Y and have it as 1. Cool, and then we can wire this into the mover's direction of movement. Like we said earlier, the first frame a signal generator starts, it'll always give the same value. So we need to have it on for 2 frames before we actually do stuff with it. So we put it into here, the first frame it will be the same, second frame it will be random, and that's when we tell the mover to do stuff. So if we just turn that off, and if we turn it on, and we put it onto once mode, then it will always, when it gets powered on again, it will start from the beginning and play to the end. So if I turn it on, it moves in a random direction, but only a tiny little hop. So if we turn up the speed, now it's like hopping in a random direction. But for this I tend to want to have it not be so directional in like left, right and forwards and backwards. So I tend to have this like smaller range so that it's always mostly up. So now it's mostly up but a little bit of angle as well, which is cool. Another thing you can do if you want to is, which tends to look even better, is a rotator. So put that in there. And do the same thing for the rotator. So the rotator can take a direction of rotation. So that's like this direction here, basically. It's like how that circle is oriented. So we'll just do a similar thing for that. But for that, it can rotate in all directions, I think. And then just wire that in. And we need to give it full strength. There we go. We can up the speed of that if we want to. And we can actually adjust that speed. So give it a random range of speed. So I'm going to adjust this for powering the rotator. So give it more power or less power, which will mean it affects the rotation more or less. So we just do that with another signal generator, wire that in. And this gives us like a random roll kind of effect. And now we can say, we can just have this in the main thing. Now we can say if it missed, then we will just play that again. If it just lands normally, it won't trigger its launching thing. But if we make it land in the pit, then it will try and jump and give us a proper roll. And then we can have some like central thing which tells all of the dice to roll. So if we get a tag and call it roll, then if we have a trigger zone looking in the whole scene that looks for a tag called roll, and I'm going to use up and down the D-pad to go through the different tag names, then it doesn't matter where this is, this trigger zone will detect this tag, and when this tag is detected, it sends a signal from tag output, so we can have that run the launch as well. So I'll just wire that into remote controllable sensor, and when I press X, it will launch the cube. So it'll sort itself out. There you go. And then when I press X, it'll launch again. You probably want to say only do this when you're settled. So if you put that in here, okay. So I'll hold X, and it'll only try and launch again once it's settled down. And I'll press X, yay, and then I can have just a whole load of these. They'll all sort themselves out. And X to launch all of them, and do another reroll. And you could adjust it so that it's more rolly and less jumpy. Next time we'll total up the sum of all the dice once they're all finished rolling. Subscribe to get notified when the next video is out. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to learn something new every day.